Westley, Academy Manager, Head of Player Development. I think to oversee the development of the players from the foundation phase, going through the youth development phase into obviously then the first team. That's a long process. Really at the sharp end, looking after the under 23 players along with Liam Manning and the rest of the staff. But seeing that final step of a boy coming through the system, through the academy system, and then just fine-tuning, ready for Slaven's team, ready for our first team. So, and in between of training with the first team, coming back with us, and Dominguez Quinner, Josh Cullen, Reece Burke, Martin Samuelson, obviously Reece Oxford would be that final little bit of work before hopefully they're ready for the first team. Our analyst department, which is just linked to our recruitment department, is one, what type of player we're looking for. Again, what are those characteristics like of that player? And then once each player has got his own individual plan and he knows what he's looking for, he can then start clipping his work through Coach Logic. He can sit on his own and go on and do that work, so he becomes an independent decision maker. He can then come to his mentor, and just seen young Vachon walk past us there at the end of training. He's one of the players I look after. And yesterday we had 29 minutes of work that he had clipped against Norwich's under 23s, and me and him would sit down and go through that type of work of what we think he's missing and what is required to get in and around the first team and look like Aaron Cresswell. You know, that combined on and off the field is very important to us. I think playing wise, you've got to build a structure of what does a player look like in the Premier League. Once you can identify that, what does a player look like in the Champions League, the highest level? If you've now moved to the London Stadium, you know, you're trying to compete with the very, very best clubs in England and in Europe, and also compete against the very best players in England and in Europe. So our boys have got to be very talented, but you've got to know what that looks like. Once you know what that looks like, you come up with the characteristics of a left back or the centre forward, etc. You know, and if it is a Reece Oxford or a Reece Burke at the back and we're asking them to come out with the ball, they've got to be comfortable with the ball. So one of the big things for us is actually match day. We try to get over 500 passes in our teams going through the age groups, because if you dominate the ball, the players then get a chance to practice what you've been doing in training. If you can't dominate the ball, the players won't get that opportunity. So it's very important for us in our philosophy that there's some characteristics in each position, but there's also a way in which we can get those characteristics out, and that is by dominating the football. A vision and strategy from the board at club level is to try to have a 20% of homegrown players playing in the team. So last year, if we had Noble and Tompkins, we'd reach the target. When Reece Oxford or Burke played in the team, it become 30%. So the target moving forward into the new stadium, that we have 30% of our starting 11 of homegrown players. Now that in this day and age, that's very difficult because of the talent pool there is across Europe and the money there is in the Premier League to attract the very best players. One of the best stadiums in Europe now to attract best players. So our players have to be very, very talented. So a combination of the talent, the recruitment, the hard work, the player taking ownership of it. But the vision is 30% of homegrown players in our starting 11. We constantly talk about here, how can we speed up the development programme? How can we speed up a Reece Oxford to get in the team, a Reece Burke to get in the team, a Josh Cullen, a Martin Samuelson, young Vachon? And some of that work is the player taking control of his learning. And that is what Coach Logic can help us do. That can take control of the learning, and then the player then has to have the insight to come and find the coaching staff. So it's a combination of both. The player understanding what he needs, the coach working with him, but the player taking ownership of that learning.